Now we're going to do 3.3 now. 3.3, subtraction. Subtracting fractions. It's subtracting fractions, order, and applications. So we're subtracting fractions, we're seeing what order fractions come in, and we're doing word problems that have to do with fractions. Okay, subtracting fractions. If you have a fraction that has the same denominator, all you have to do is just work from there. Keep that denominator and do 4 minus 3. Okay? Before you start subtraction, you got to make sure you have a common denominator, just like adding. For adding and subtracting fractions, you need that common denominator. Okay? If you don't have it, then you need to get a common denominator. Okay, so if you have, let's do one where it doesn't have a common denominator. You have 2/5 minus 2/15. Okay, you see the bottom's not the same, you need to make it the same. Okay, if you don't want to write it sideways, you see that you're going to need a common denominator. You won't want to write it like this. When you see that in the book, go ahead and write it where you have 2/5 minus 2/15. Write it up and down. Because you know you're going to need to do a common denominator. So like that. What's the common denominator of 5 and 15? 15. So write that as your denominator. Okay, 5 times what is 15? Times 3. Write that next to both of these. 2 times 3? 6. This was times 1. It stayed the same, so the top stays the same. If it helps, you could put the minus here. So you make sure you at least write it over here. Some people write this down and they forget to put a plus or minus, then they do the wrong operation. Make sure that you write it here at least. Okay, 6 minus 2? 4. 4/15. Will that reduce? You can't divide it by the same thing. So you're done. Reduce if possible, okay? Stay in the habit of simplifying when possible. Okay, we'll do another one like this, and then we'll go to the next subject. Okay, we'll do a bigger one. How about 11/18? This doesn't have a common denominator, so I'm going to write it down here. Minus, this is number 34. 11/18 minus 7/24. Okay, that one's a little harder to see what the denominator is going to be. That's why we learned least common multiple. This is where it's used at. If you have 18 and 24, okay, you can either list the multiples or you could do it prime factor. 18 divided by 2 is 9, divided by 3 is 3. Prime factors of 18 are 2 times 3 times 3. 24 divided by 2 is 12. Divided by 2 is 6. Divided by 2 is 3. Okay, so 2, 2, 2, 3. 2, 2, 2, 3. Okay. What you want to do is make sure you have enough 2's for this to divide into it. You have 1 here and 3 here. Common denominator is going to have 3 of them. I'm sorry, that's a 2. 1, 2, 3 2's. And to make sure this will go into it, you need to make sure you have 2 3's. You put the most amount, the biggest amount of every factor. See, there's your 18. Goes into it, and if you look right there, 24 will go into it. So it's 24 times 3. 24 times 3 is 72. So 72 is our common denominator. And since we have it prime factored, it's going to be real easy to see what we multiplied by. 24 was multiplied by 3. So put times 3 next to the 24 and the 7 that's above it. Now 18, okay, we have it right here, 2, 3, 3. Our common denominator has 2, 2, has 2 more 2's. So it's 18 times 4. So you can use this to see what you multiply 18 by. 18 times 4. So the 4 we're going to multiply here, because that's how you get 72, and multiply the 4 on top. Okay? Now 11 times 4, 44. 7 times 3 is 21. We're subtracting. 44 minus 21. 4 minus 1 is 3. 4 minus 2 is 2. The common denominator stays on the bottom. Okay, 23 is a prime number, so you cannot divide it by anything. So you know if that's a prime number, you are done. Even though 72 divided by a lot of those, 23 is not going to divide by any of those. So that would be the final answer right there. If you want to be a millionaire. Yeah. Supposed to math. Okay. Thanks. Now I'm a comedian. Okay, now the next section that you had homework on has greater less than signs. You have two fractions. You're comparing these two fractions. Okay. If you have a fraction that's equal, like 1/10 and 5/10, if it's equal, this times this will equal this times this. Those are called cross products, because they're across from each other and they're products. They're multiplied. 10 times 1 is 10. 2 times 5 is 10. So these fractions are equal. The ones that you're doing, it's not going to be equal. It's going to be either greater or less than. Okay? So we're going to do the same thing we did with this. If you have like 1/8 and 1/6. 6 times 1 is 6. 8 times 1 is 8. So the 6 is less than 8. This will be less than. You're going to gobble up the big one. See the alligator mouth? You're gobbling up the big one. Okay. An eighth of something, if you had a pizza and you only got 1/8 of it, you would have less than if you had 1/6 of that pizza, right? 1/2 and 1/3. Okay, 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 is bigger than 2. You're gobbling up the 3, right? Gobble up the 3. See, 1/2 is bigger than 1/3. If you had a half of a pizza, you would have more than if you just had a third of a pizza. Makes sense, right? Okay. And that's also if you have other numbers besides the 1 on top. Let's do one like 5/6 and 13 over 16. That one's hard to tell by looking at it which one's bigger. But if you multiply the numbers, 16 times 5, 5 times 6 is 30, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that one's 80. 6 times 13, 6 times 3 is 18, that's 78. Now you can see which one's bigger. The 80's bigger, this one's bigger. So you put the greater than sign where it gobbles up the big one. Okay? Okay, now we have some equations. Equations are where you have an equal sign and you're solving them. Equal. You're going to have equations have equal signs. Okay, if you have an equation, x plus 3/5 is equal to 4/5. Okay, you kind of tell what that would be without even solving, right? Something plus 3/5 is 4/5. You need 1/5 plus 3/5, right? Okay, but I want you to show how to solve it, showing what you did. Not, I just know it because I know it. Okay, to show your work on this, here is your variable that was adding 3/5. I want you to show that you subtracted 3/5 from both sides. Because they're going to get harder where you have to show the work. So I want you to get used to showing that you did the opposite of what was by the variable. Okay, 4/5 minus 3/5 is 1/5, which was what you knew it was going to be anyway. We'll do some where you can't just know it. We'll do some problems where you actually need it. Like x plus 1/3 is equal to 5/6. Okay, you don't just know that instinctively, right? So if we're adding here, what are we going to do to show our work?
Subtract.
You're going to subtract. You're going to do the opposite. Minus 1/3. So that part will go away. You just have the x on this side. Your equals comes down. Now, before we subtract, what do we need?
Common denominator.
Common denominator, which is
6.
6. Okay, this stayed the same, so the top stays the same. The 3 didn't stay the same. 3 times 2 is 6. So times 2 on the top. 1 times 2 is 2. 5 minus 2 is 3. Keep your denominator. 3/6. What can we do with that? Simplify it. Divide by 3 on the top and bottom. You have 1/2. And there's your answer. So see, you can't always just look at it and know what the answer is going to be. The reason we have you do this is so you'll get used to showing your work when it's not just naturally coming to you. Okay, that's all of 3.3. 3.4, you're going to be doing mixed numbers. That means you have a number and a fraction mixed, like 1 1/2, or 3 2/3. Okay, mixed numbers. If you have a mixed number like 24 1/2, to write that as an improper fraction, where you have one number over one number, you remember what to do there?
Times and then add.
You multiply right here, and then you add the top. So 2 times 24, 48, then add the 1 on top, gives you 49. What's the denominator?
2.
It stays the same. 2. This is improper. That's an improper fraction. This is a mixed number. Okay? We'll do one more mixed to improper, and then we'll do it the other way, the other direction. Another mixed number, 11 1/4. Okay, multiply 4 times 11, 44, plus 1,
45.
45. The bottom,
4.
keep the 4. Okay, now we're going to do from improper back to a mixed number. Okay, if you have 73 over 7, you're going to do the top number divided by the bottom number. Numerator divided by denominator. Top divided by bottom. This number needs to go, the top number, the numerator, goes under the division sign. 3 divided by 7. Take 7 into 7,
1.
1. 7 into 3.
0.
0. Don't forget to put the 0 here. It'll look like you have 1. Okay, this remainder, don't write it a remainder. Remember, we're putting a mixed number. We need a fraction. This number goes on top of the fraction. And the 7 stays on the bottom. You still have the 7 as your denominator. So you have this, the remainder, over the number you're dividing by. So 73 over 7 is 10 and 3/7. Okay, let's do another one. 34 over 3. 34 divided by 3. 3 into 3 is 1. Okay, that's 0. Bring your 4 down. 3 into 4. 1. 1 times 3, 3. The remainder goes on top. And you still have the 3 on bottom. Okay? 11 and 1/3. Okay, that's all you have to do in 3.4. You're going to be doing dividing. So if you don't remember your multiplication, you need to practice your multiplication so you know what number to divide by. Okay, one more section, 3.5. You're adding and subtracting using mixed numbers. Mixed numbers is what again?
Fraction.
A number and a fraction. It's mixed. A number and a fraction. If you're going to add two mixed numbers, you're going to add the number part. 2 plus 1 is 3. Then you're going to add the fraction part. What do you need to add the fractions? You need a common denominator. Okay, 2 and 3. Common denominator is 6. Okay, 3 is times 2. 2 is times 3. Okay, so the top is 3. The bottom is 2 times 2 is 4. So you have 3, 6 plus 4, 6. 3 plus 4 is 7. 6. That second part is called what kind of fraction? This is improper. It's bigger than 1. So what we need to do is change this to a mixed number. 7 divided by 6. 7 divided by 6 is 1. And there's 1 left over. So you got 1, 6. So you got 3 plus 1 and 1/6. Which comes out to 4 and 1/6. And the 1/6, of course, that won't reduce. So you're done there. Okay, let's do some more. Let's see. Let's do one like 12 and 4/5 plus 8 and 7/10. Add the 12 plus 8. You get 20, right? Okay, 4/5 and 7/10. Common denominator?
10.
10. Okay, the bottom one's already 10, so that stayed the same. We're still going to have a 7 there. The top one, 5 is times 2. So 4 times 2 is 8. Now 8 plus 7?
15.
15 tenths. we need to do the same thing with that one. 15 divided by 10 goes one time. 1 times 10, and then subtract it, you have 5 left over. 5 goes on top, that's tenths. 1 and 5 tenths, you want to reduce that, right? That's 1 and what? 1/2. Divided by 5, you get 1/2. So this is 20 plus this part right here is 1 and 1/2. So you got 21 and 1/2. So the add is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. The subtract, you got a few little quirks you may have to do here. Subtract is not as fun. Okay, let's do a simple subtract and then we'll get into the harder ones. A simple subtract like, let's do 7 2/3 minus 6 1/2. Okay, don't subtract the 7 minus 6 until you're sure that you've got enough over here, okay? Because you may have to borrow. So you actually need to do this part first. Just like when you're subtracting numbers, you start on the left and see if you need to borrow before you don't subtract. If you have a number like 2006 minus 1992, you don't start over here, right? So let's start on the left. Let's start with the fraction part to make sure we don't need to borrow. Okay, we need a common denominator.
6.
Is 6. Okay, 3 is times 2, and the 2 is times 3. Okay, 2 times 2 is 4. 1 times 3 is 3. Okay, so we can relax because I can do 4 minus 3. 4 minus 3 is 1/6. So since that worked out, we can subtract this now. 7 minus 6 is 1. And that won't reduce. And there's your answer. Now let's do one where maybe the 3 is on top and 4 is on bottom. Let's do one like that. Let's do where the 1/2's up here and the 2/3 is down here. Let's do 10 1/2 and subtract 7 2/3. Okay, common denominator 6 again. Now we have the 3/6 on top. We're doing times 2, and we have the 4/6 on bottom. Okay, so we need to borrow. We have 3 minus 4. You can't do 3 minus 4 here. You need to have enough of them to take away. When you borrow from the whole number here, make it 9. Don't put a 1 right here. Don't make it 13. Okay? That's not going to work. Don't put it there. Put it in front of it like the mixed number, 1 3/6. Okay? That's where people mess up on borrowing here. Don't put it in front of the 3 here. Okay, now you go 6 times 1, 6 plus 3. Now you have 9/6. Okay? So 9/6 minus 4/6 is 5/6. And then you can do 9 minus 7 is 2. 2 and 5/6. We should do another one of these, right? Let's practice that one. Okay, we'll do another one. Let's see. Let's do 17 1/3 minus 12 4/7. Okay, our common denominator, 7 times 3 is 21. So we times 3 on the bottom, gives us 12. We times 7 on the top, gives us 7. It's too small. You can't do 7 minus 12. So we need to borrow from the whole number, make it 1 less. So you have 16, put the 1 in front. 21 times 1 is 21, plus 7 is 28. Mark out the 7 so you don't use the 7. Okay, 28 minus 12, 16. And then 21 is our denominator. Here we have 16 minus 12 is 4. Okay, the 16 over 21, 21 will only divide by 3 and 7. 16 won't divide by 3 or 7. So that's as far as you can go on that. Okay, one more like that, and then I'm going to do where you subtract from a whole number. Okay, let's do 25 and 1/4 minus 13 and 3/8. Common denominator, 8. This stayed the same, so the 3 stays the same. 4 is times 2, so you have 2 on top. 2 minus 3, you don't have enough, so you have to borrow from the whole number, make it 24, put the whole number in front of the 2/8, so you have 8 times 1 is 8 plus 2. 8 plus 2 is 10. So now you have 10/8 minus 3/8 is 7/8. 24 minus 13, 4 minus 3 is 1, 2 minus 1 is 1. And that won't reduce. Okay, there is a shortcut. I'll show you and you can use it if you'd like. Okay? Or you can just ignore me right now and turn me off for a minute. When you're borrowing here, look at these numbers. The 6 and 3. See how it came out to 9? See how you could add those and get 9? Okay, look at this. When we borrowed, 21 plus 7 is 28. You don't have to write the 1 there. You could just add these and put it up there. See on this one when we borrowed, the 8 plus 2 is 10. You see how that works? If you don't see how it works, you don't want to use the shortcut, go ahead and put that 1 there and do it the regular way. Okay? If that confused you, don't even try it. But if you understood it and you want to do that, okay, now we're going to do a whole number. Let's do 16 minus 1 and 1/2. Okay, you have 16 pizzas, and you know that you ate 1 1/2 of them. Because we're such pigs, we eat a whole pizza and a half, right? Not really, but. Okay. So if you ate 1 1/2, how many pizzas would be left? 14 1/2. Okay, but how do we get that? By showing the work? We need something here to subtract the 1/2 from. Okay, so we're going to take one of these pizzas here, take one of those pizzas and put it over here as a number. We're going to cut it in half because we're going to eat half of one of them, right? We're going to have it as 2 halves. 16 is the same as 15 and 2/2, right? So now we can subtract it. 2/2 minus 1/2 is 1/2. And then 15 minus 1 is the 14. So we have 14 and a half pizzas left. Let's do some more of those. How about 72 minus 23 and 3/5? That's a lot of pizzas if we're using pizza. Okay, we're going to take one of these pizzas or whatever the thing is here, borrow one of these pizzas or something, and we're going to divide it up. Are we going to put 2 over 2? If we did, we'd have to get a common denominator. What do we want?
5.
We want a denominator of 5, so we want to cut it into 5 pizzas. So we have 5/5. So 5/5 minus 3/5 is 2/5. Then we have 71 minus 23. Well, we have to borrow. That one we borrow the normal way that we do. 11 minus 3, 8, and then 6 minus 2
4.
is 4. So 48 and 2/5. These usually don't come out where you have to reduce them. You could, could end up where you have to reduce, but not as often as the other ones. Just check to make sure the fraction part won't simplify further. Okay, that's about it. You have some word problems where you have to either add or subtract. I'm going to help you out on one here. Make it easier on you. There's a bookshelf on page 186. It's an entertainment center. Okay. Yeah, I didn't make a very pretty one, but there's your entertainment center with your TVs or whatever in here. Okay, it has a bunch of numbers in here. 3 and 7/16 this way, and 3 and 7/16 this way. It gives you a number here, but it didn't give you the top number here, right? And it didn't give you this number. It gave you this adds up to 6 and 7/8. Okay. And what it's wanting you to find is the perimeter. To find the perimeter of something, you need every single side, don't you? Like you were putting a fence around it. Okay? But it didn't give you this side or this side. Okay. What is from here to here? This side plus this side is going to equal what? The same as over here, right? See, from here, this section plus this section is going to be from here to here. So it's 6 and 7/8. Same with the top. For this part and this part added will be 6 and 7/8 also, right? So these parts don't even really matter. You can kind of just forget that they even gave you those numbers. If they wanted to know this, you could have subtracted that from this and found it, but you don't even have to use those numbers. You can just say it's 6 and 7/8 4 times. So write 6 and 7/8 4 times, and you've got 1, 2. The 8's on bottom, 7 4 times is 28, right? Yeah. 28, and then 6 4 times is 24. You will need to change that. 28 divided by 8 is 3 or 4? 3. 8 times 3 is 24. Subtracted is 4. Okay, 4 8. So you got 3 4/8, which is the same as 4/8 is 1/2. So you got 24 plus 3 1/2. You got 27 1/2. Was that in feet, inches? What was the
Feet.
Those were in feet. So this is how many feet it is around it. It's not square feet. Perimeter is just how far around. So that's number 58 for you, which was an optional one. You just show the work on your paper and you'll have it already done for you. There is one that I've had lots of questions on in the past. On number 64, it shows a couple of pipes. And it shows this bolt that you're going to be putting into these pipes, okay? It wants to know how long a bolt's going to need to be to go through the pipes and the washers. You have one washer right here, and on the outside you have another washer and, what do you call that, a nut? Yeah, and a nut. Okay. It says how big each one of these are. If you read the word problem, it says, what's the smallest length of bolt that will pass through a piece of tubing with an outside diameter of 1/2 inch? Outside diameter is from side to side. Okay, it's not the inside part. It's not inside here. It's from outside to outside. A washer that's 1/16, and then a piece of tubing that's a different size. It says 3/4 of an inch on the outside diameter. It says another washer, and then a nut, 3/16. Okay, it says another washer. So what do you think? How big that washer going to be?
1/16.
The same as the first washer, 1/16. So what are you going to do to those numbers to figure out how big your bolt has to be? Add them all up. You'll have to add all these numbers up, which means you'll need to get a common denominator and then add them. And I'll let you do that work yourself. But some people they get confused about the other washer. It didn't say how big it was. So you'll use the 1/16 again for that. And that's the 3 sections you need to do. Is there any questions over any of those?